This podcast is brought to you by GoMoto, the service lane kiosk that grows your business. Want to increase revenue, improve the customer experience, and maximize service efficiency? Visit GoMoto.com to learn more. GoMoto.com.
Want to dive deeper into the topics you hear about on Daily Drive? We're offering listeners a special offer, 20% off a 1-year Automotive News digital subscription. That gets you access to all of our news, information, and analysis made for automotive industry leaders like you. Go to autonews.com/Daily Drive promo to redeem. Welcome to Daily Drive for Monday, November 20th, 2023. I'm Jamie Butters, Executive Editor of Automotive News in Detroit.
And I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, Kyle Vogt resigns as CEO of Cruise. Toyota's financial unit will pay $60 million for illegal lending and credit reporting misconduct. And EV charging company ChargePoint plunges. Plus, INEOS Automotive CEO Lynn Calder joins the show to talk about the company's Grenadier SUV, which is coming to the U.S.
It's been such a wild and crazy ride of a petrochemicals company learning how to build a car.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry.
Kyle Vogt has resigned from his position as CEO of Cruise. His departure is the latest fallout from a safety crisis at General Motors' beleaguered self-driving unit. Starting Sunday, Mo Elshanawi will take over duties as President and Chief Technology Officer. He's currently the company's Executive Vice President of Engineering. GM's Executive Vice President of Legal and Policy, Craig Glidden, who is also a Cruise board member, will also serve as a president and continue as Chief Administrative Officer. John McNeil, who joined the Cruise board last month, has been appointed vice chairman of the board, serving alongside Chair Mary Barra. Vogt's downfall marks an abrupt end to his tenure with a company that he co-founded in 2013. This was his second stint as CEO. He took over last December after Dan Ammann, GM's former CFO and president, had departed.
ChargePoint Holdings shares have collapsed after the company announced the sudden replacement of its longtime chief executive officer and posted disappointing quarterly revenue. The stock, which had already lost more than two-thirds of its value this year, plunged as much as 38% on Friday, its biggest intraday decline ever. Shares closed at $2.02. The electric vehicle charging company's market capitalization fell to around $750 million, from a peak of $11.2 billion in June 2021. The company said after the market closed on Thursday that CEO Pasquale Romano and Chief Financial Officer Rex Jackson were being replaced. ChargePoint also released preliminary results showing revenue slumped to between $108 million and $113 million for the quarter that ended last month, down from a year ago and well short of its guidance for at least $150 million.
Toyota's U.S.-based auto financing unit will pay $60 million in fines and restitution to settle charges of lending misconduct. U.S. regulators say Toyota Motor Credit illegally prevented borrowers from canceling product bundles that increased their monthly car loan payments. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says the unit will pay a $12 million civil fine and $48 million to consumers that it harmed. Toyota Motor Credit provides financing for people who buy vehicles at Toyota dealerships. The company did not admit or deny liability in agreeing to settle.
And U.S. auto safety regulators are investigating report discrepancies in 16 recalls issued by Hyundai and Kia that affect more than 6 million vehicles. They involve malfunctioning anti-lock brake systems linked to fire risk. NHTSA's Office of Defects Investigation said it was reviewing 8 recalls from each of the 2 sibling automakers that involved anti-lock braking system modules or hydraulic electronic control units made by South Korean parts supplier Mando. The audit threatens to overshadow the automakers' years-long efforts to improve their quality reputations. Both Hyundai and Kia landed in the top 10 this year on the annual J.D. Power Vehicle Dependability Study. But just 5 years ago, the 2 automakers were navigating a messy crisis involving hundreds of reports of non-collision fires in their vehicles. The recalls were issued from 2016 to 2023 and involved more than 6.3 million vehicles in the US. In the recalls, the automakers advised vehicle owners to park the affected vehicles outside and away from structures. And those are today's headlines. Jamie, how do you make of this Hyundai Kia recall issue? Do you think this will cost them more financially or more of a blow to their quality reputations?
It's hard to tell what the financial costs might be. I guess, if they have to redo the recalls, that could be very costly. But I think your question is right on, right? The bigger issue is what it does to them reputationally, with the regulators and with consumers. Hyundai and Kia came in, at really the bottom end of the market, not great quality, very cheap cars, and they have worked diligently for decades to improve their quality. And these kinds of setbacks, don't help. They give the impression the quality is still a problem and that the company isn't doing the things that it says it's supposed to do.
Gotcha. Coming up, we'll hear from INEOS Automotive CEO Lynn Calder as the company gets set to start deliveries of its Grenadier SUV here in the US. That's next on Daily Drive.
The auto industry's shift to carbon neutrality is here and it's accelerating. But is it enough?
This is a moral imperative, an economic imperative, a moment of peril, but also a moment of extraordinary possibilities.
No more hesitancy, no more excuses, no more waiting for the others to move first. There is simply no more time for that.
Driving to Zero is a new podcast series from Automotive News that looks at the auto industry's roadmap to carbon neutrality. We take a big picture look at the environmental, political, and social trends pushing the move toward a greener future. And we pull back the curtain on how these decisions are being made at the highest levels.
I said, the headline that you need is GM believes in an all-electric future. And I think Dan Ammon and Mary Barra pretty much said the same thing, which is like, but we don't.
Spoiler alert, they came around to that idea. Find out how and much more. I'm Jake Neer. Join me and Automotive News Executive Editor Jamie Butters on Driving to Zero, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Your service check-in process sets the tone for your customer's entire visit. Do your customers wait longer than 5 minutes to check in for service? Are your advisors presenting upsells to every customer every time? How often is the opportunity for a trade appraisal missed? When your service drive gets busy, these inefficiencies directly impact revenue. Give your customers the option to handle the entire check-in process themselves, from appointment scheduling through final confirmation in under 2 minutes. Customers have the experience they want while selling themselves, which means your advisors are freed up to focus on profit-producing activities. It's a win-win for CSI and your revenue. Introducing a smarter service lane, GoMoto is the self-service kiosk designed to grow your business. If you're ready to start increasing revenue, improving the customer experience, and maximizing service efficiency today, visit GoMoto.com. That's GOMOTO.com.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Jamie Butters with Kellen Walker. INEOS Automotive is preparing to begin deliveries of its Grenadier, a rugged, boxy, BMW-powered four-door off-road vehicle made in France. The first batch of Grenadiers has been shipped to U.S. ports and may reach the company's 19 U.S. dealers this week. Lynn Calder is the CEO of INEOS Automotive. I caught up with her over the weekend in Las Vegas at the Formula One Grand Prix. Lynn Calder, welcome to Daily Drive.
Hi, JB. Great to be here. Thanks.
Close readers of automotive news have been following the development of the Grenadier, sort of an homage to the Land Rover Defender, and now it's really coming to the U.S. How soon do you expect the first deliveries in the States?
So we're within days now, because actually our first customer vehicles have landed in the States. So they're in the ports. We just got to, do a little bit of work and then get them out to customers. So pretty exciting time for INEOS Automotive right now.
Is it the Port of Baltimore? What do you use to bring them in?
We've actually got ports on the east and the west coast. So we've got about, I think, 300 vehicles that have hit the east and 400 vehicles that hit the west, and we've got a whole load of other vehicles on the water. So they're on the way.
Will they be distributed evenly across the states, or kind of hit the coast first and then work your way in?
Yeah, to be honest, we haven't been particularly strategic about location. We've gone with customer orders, right? So the order book's opened in May, and we've made the first 1,200, and they're shipped, and we're just starting on the next batch right now. So, yeah, I think they're as ordered.
For those who haven't devoured everything written by Richard Truitt or Jack Walsworth in Automotive News, tell the audience, if you will, about the origin of the Grenadier and the INEOS Automotive business.
It's a pretty crazy story, if I'm honest, when you actually really sort of think back at the last 6 years, because 6 years ago, the principal owner of INEOS, the group company, which is at its core a petrochemicals company, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, was kind of, sat having a beer with his friends in a pub, which is the Grenadier pub in Belgravia in London. And he was having a bit of a kind of think about the fact that Land Rover had elected to stop making the old Defender. And, he really felt that it was a great shame. And principally because it was such a capable off-roader, and that there was nothing really left like that on the market anymore. And that was a great shame. So his kind of, musing, I suppose, was just kind of like, imagine if we were to kind of build a real kind of pure blood 4x4 capable, on purpose built to kind of really tackle everything you could throw at it off-road, but actually with a bit of a modern twist, which, with a bit of comfort, with a bit of refinement, quality, durability. And, this kind of ended up being written down on the back of a £5 note. It's become quite a fable now. Because in the Grenadier pub, there's this concept of, there's lots of £5 notes on the roof. They're pinned to the ceiling, have been for many, many years. So they kind of wrote a triangle on the back of this £5 note, which had to be great design was one point on the triangle, had to be really off-road capable was the second point, and then durable and reliable was the third point, and it got pinned to the ceiling. But it was still just a bit of a kind of pipe dream, I think. Right. Funnily enough, though, here we are 6 years later, and, it's been such a wild and crazy ride of a petrochemicals company learning how to build a car. And we've done that with partners. We haven't gone off and just done it on our own. We've done it with partners. We've partnered up with Magnus Steyr, who've really helped us design and engineer the vehicle. And we've partnered up with some of the best kind of suppliers in the business. So, we've put a BMW 6-cylinder engine in the car. We've got, our transmission is ZF. We've got Recaro seats. So, we wanted to do it properly and work with the best of the best. We bought a factory. We actually even bought the pub last year, Grenadier. So it's been a busy 6 years.
Got that £5 note back.
Well, it's still up there. So
you use a direct sales model in other markets, but you're using franchisees in the U.S. starting with 19. Why is that?
I think when we were thinking about our sales model globally, we thought that, the agency model, direct selling, in most markets was kind of where we wanted to be. We wanted to have a really high degree of control over our brand effectively, because we're so new, we're so young, we've got to work really hard to build that kind of buy-in and knowledge of who we are. And so it felt like the right thing to do. I think in the US, that's obviously a lot more difficult given dealer franchise law. But actually, I think it's turned out to be quite a good thing for us to have a bit of a mix. What we'll end up with, I think, by volume is probably somewhere around 50-50 direct and indirect. And I think that gives us a really nice kind of mix of sales model. And in the US in particular for us, given that we're so new, given that we don't, we've got a lot to learn about the US market. We know it's going to be a huge market for us, and we're so excited to finally be here. But we've got a lot to learn, and I think it will be great to be partnered up with some of the best dealers across the whole country to really help us build our business here.
It's still early days, but what have you found different, better or worse, between the two models?
I think what we've learned, I mean, we've already launched in probably, I'm going to say about 15 countries. We've launched in 40 overall, but 15 countries direct, but high volume markets for us. So we've learned a lot over the last year, effectively, in those countries with the direct model. And I think if I were to kind of say our principal learning over the last year has been that we probably underestimated just what it meant to have a direct model as a brand new OEM who is really kind of trying to build its business, to stand itself up as a business. So we've got brand new systems, we've got a lot of new people, we've got new processes. We're learning about the car business. We're at the same time building a car. We're at the same time ramping up our production in France. At the same time as planning the future, whether it be new markets for the Grenadier and the Quartermaster, by the way, which is our second model, which is the double cab pickup version of the Grenadier. But we're also currently engineering our third car, which is the battery electric. So a lot on our plate for such a young company. And I think that, it's been tough actually to set up a direct selling model where you've got to do a lot of things that otherwise dealers would do. So just even really simple things like registering the vehicle or having, a customer service call center or having roadside assistance or financing relationships. These are all things that, dealers would undertake in an indirect model. And, that's kind of a learning. Do I regret it? No, actually. I think, it's been a tough year, but we're kind of really making it through the worst. And I think that sets us up really well for the future. But it's been a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned the planned expansion to the lineup. This is not a one vehicle brand. What's the timing look like for those other two models?
Yeah, so the Quartermaster will actually go into production in our facility in France next week. Our second model coming thick and fast. But obviously, that's a model that's largely based on the Grenadier, the whole kind of front end of the car. The double cab is a Grenadier. What we've got is a loading bay now on the back. It's got about 12 inches, so a foot longer wheelbase. That's going to hit the US. We haven't actually announced the date yet, but I'm going to say probably Q1 next year. I think, we've got a lot of station wagon Grenadier orders to get through for the US. So we're kind of really working through that at the moment, and the station wagon and the Quartermaster will be built on the same line. The battery electric, which we're really excited about, is going to come to the market in 2026. But we are really, really deep into the design and engineering of that now. So we're almost complete on the exterior design. We had a bit of a kind of friends and family unveiling a couple of weeks ago of our model, and it went down really well. So we're super excited. But yeah, 2026.
How big are the ambitions for INEOS Automotive? Are you trying to become like the next Land Rover or the next Mercedes? How big should this company be?
I don't think we're ever gonna, we're always gonna plow our own furrow. I think in terms of, we're not going to be a Me Too. I think, the kind of our origin kind of tells you that, the whole kind of fable and legend that I've just talked about. It's kind of a very, very different way to begin a car company. But what I would say is what started as, a great shame, that there's this gap for a pure blood 4x4 and a gap in the market that's also a business gap in the market, not just a bit of a passion project, can we build a car, but a business gap, and that's a gap that we can come in and fill. What started as that has, over the last 6 years morphed into, we want to be around for the long haul. We want to be, a 100-year-old company at one point. And I think, the vision of our owner, Jim, is that automotive becomes a really, really significant part of the INEOS group, not, just an idea in a pub. So I'd say the ambition is strong, and, we've got, I'd say one, probably even two more ideas. We're already starting on, ideas for the fourth vehicle in terms of it's quite solid what the brief is, and we're starting on design for that. We'll stick to off-road. That will be our DNA. So we're not going to go left field into anything that we understand less. I think we've learned a lot about building an off-road vehicle, and that's where we'll stay.
We're here in Las Vegas for the Formula One Grand Prix here. INEOS Group is 1/3 owner of Mercedes-AMG Petronas team. Is that
right?
Right?
Absolutely.
And it's one of the top teams, very well known. What does the F1 affiliation do for INEOS Group, and what does it do for INEOS Automotive?
It was designed as an INEOS Group foray, not an INEOS Automotive one, really. I think it's great to be here as we launch in the US as INEOS Automotive, and it's a great event, a real marquee event to be here doing that. But it's much more of an INEOS Group play. And to be honest, I mean, I've mentioned that at its core, INEOS Group is a petrochemicals company. It actually turned 25 years old this year, so it's still a relatively new company, but it's gone through really, really exponential growth over the last 25 years, predominantly built through acquisition. And for 20 of the 25 years, because INEOS was pure business to business, it really wasn't very well known at all. It wasn't a brand name. We don't sell brand name chemicals. A lot of our business is commodity, and it was just, we were kind of used to have a bit of a joke, which we were the largest company that people had never really heard of,
right?
Because it's a 65 billion euro company, so and it's owned by 3 individuals, really predominantly one. So 5 years ago, I think we started to get into sport as just a bit of an interest. Actually, our owner really enjoys sport. We acquired the Team Sky cycling team, which is now INEOS Grenadiers, so a road cycling team that kind of competes in the grand tours around the world. We've acquired 2 football teams, one in Switzerland, one in France. OGC Nice is playing in the top flight in France. We backed the British attempt to bring back the America's Cup, the yacht sailing competition. We're sponsor of the All Blacks now. It's kind of, the Formula One opportunity was kind of just part of a theme, I think, which was, we like sport. It really runs through the core of our company. We very much believe in, working hard and looking after yourself from a health perspective. So yeah, and as a result of that, I think what it has done for INEOS Group has actually started to get people recognising our name, which for INEOS Automotive, now that we're, a really big consumer arm of INEOS Group, the biggest consumer arm of INEOS Group, but not the only. We've actually got a fashion brand called Belstaff, and we have a brand called INEOS Hygienics, which is a kind of, started off as a hand sanitizer brand throughout COVID, but now is sort of really morphed into hand soaps and detergents. So, we've got a couple of consumer businesses now for which the sport links are extremely helpful, so that we can start to really get our name out there and people know who INEOS is.
Lynn Calder, CEO of INEOS Automotive, which is beginning U.S. deliveries of the Grenadier SUV any day now. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you.
That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Jamie Butters.
And I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News coordinating producer Jake Neer, as well as our own Pete Bigelow, Audrey LaForest, and Richard Truitt for their reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest on new products, executive moves, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com.
Come back tomorrow for a deep dive into the newly ratified UAW and Unifor contracts with the Detroit 3 and what comes next. If you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.